Hello everyone. Welcome into this reading today. So it's going to be quite different to previous readings that I've done on this channel. I feel a shift to move into something different. If that lasts, we'll see. However, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to pull two cards and then I'm going to clip the video in a way that it seems more seamless, but I'll come back and the two cards that will come out, we're going to do two readings. I will eventually go up to three. I just want to see how this goes today. I haven't practiced, haven't done anything. I've just got some kind of like intuitive ideas on what kind of reading. The readings aren't going to be about like a theme and then you pick this pile, this pile, this pile. It's going to be, if you want to watch this reading, this is going to be about XYZ. And if you want to watch this one, it's going to be about XYZ. If you want to watch the whole thing, watch the whole thing, right? If you want to have information. But I feel like it's just going to be topics that may not be directly about you. They may be more collective. They may be about themes. So a theme could be something like, I don't know, how did the world begin or something like that. That kind of thing. Just like big questions that people have that we may not have scientific answers for, but there may be like a spiritual answer, and whatever comes through will be applicable to the time that it's posted, basically. Obviously, things shift and change in the future, but the meaning will be there, and there'll be like hidden messages that may relate to now. And they also just may relate to what's happening in the collective, basically. So it'll be an interesting one. I have no idea what's going to come through. I'm just going to shuffle these, pull some cards, and then see what questions come through. All right, so let's have a look. Whoop. Take this one. So I hope you are doing well this busy season. I know wherever you are in the world, whether it's winter where you are or summer where I am, it's a busy season. So look after yourself, look after people, and take breaks, stay safe. There we go. All right, so here are the two cards. So the first one here is Amazonite with solace, healthy lifestyle, clear communication, and balance. And the second reading is going to come from Amber with harmony, home protection, calm, and attracts love. All right, so these are going to be the two cards. I will clip the video and come back to you with what kind of readings these are going to be about. Okay, so I am back. So it was an interesting, quick kind of message, really. It didn't take as long as I thought it may. I honestly wasn't sure. I usually have an idea of what kind of reading I'm going to go into before I start picking cards, right? So this was an interesting way of doing it, and I actually enjoyed it. Like, it was quite a pleasant experience. This one is we're touching really on this healthy lifestyle. So it kind of does align with like people's idea of a new year and what to expect, like what they want out of, health and weight loss and, all the things that people usually think about. When I was younger, I'd go to the gym, and in January, I would always see a huge amount of people, and then by February, most of them were gone. Right? It was back to the people that were just always there, and maybe a couple of people that were still going on. But it was generally like, it's that shift, and I feel like that's normal for a lot of people, is to get into the mindset and then start to do it, and then it's hard to keep up with that. So I believe this is going to be not a personal reading exactly, but definitely more focused on you and, setting goals, making plans, that kind of thing of what to do or how to best approach the the physical and the kind of like mental health kind of goals for next year. Physical and mental health goals. And this one was kind of interesting. This does feel like a collective. This was, where are we going as a collective in regards to the future of what is home and community? What is where are we headed? That doesn't mean this is going to be a prediction. It's more like, where are the headspaces of the collective right now? So this is definitely more of a collective one in the sense of we're talking to and from the collective. So if this doesn't resonate with you specifically, that is because you're part of the collective, you're not the entire collective. So this is going to be more as a very big, broad kind of reading. So interesting, messages that will come through, I suppose. We'll see when we get into the readings. I haven't picked any cards because I had no idea. I feel like the decks that will come out are going to be different for both piles, which is probably why it's going to be a longer reading, or at least a longer filming session for me. But I'm quite happy to do that because this is going to be really interesting. Also, because this is the first time I'm doing it, it's just interesting that there's two stones, or like, gems or whatever you want to call it. This is amber, so it's, it's amber, not really a gem or anything like that, but something from nature. And they're starting with A, so it's just, I don't know, it just feels right. This is like the first reading that I'm doing like this, and there's, the first letter of the alphabet on both cards. So yeah, anyway, down in the description below, you'll be able to jump straight to the video as always. If you wanted to skip all this, you could always, for the next videos, just scroll over and see what readings are popping up, and that'll help you just go straight to the ones that are actually you're interested in. But yeah, otherwise, take care and I'll see you in your reading. Hello, welcome to this reading. So this reading is about healthy lifestyle. It did show up. This healthy lifestyle was very, very clear of what this is going to be. So this is trying to give you some kind of guidance as an individual, as maybe a family group, as a collective, whatever you resonate with this. And it's going to be touching on how to get into the right mental or mindset for this, how to prepare, those kind of things. So obviously there's a lot of information out there, right? There's dietitians and all sorts of professionals out there, and lots of stuff out there that you could look up and have a look at this kind of thing. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not anything like that. I'm a card reader. So take this with a grain of salt, of course, as always. But we'll get into the reading and have a look at where this reading is going to go, because I'm curious. Got a few different cards. The overall theme of these two readings, even though they're very different, is going to be called Getting Back to the Basics. That is really what this is about. So what does that mean in this particular reading? Is going back to the drawing board, or taking a step back to step one. You see the goal over here, not focusing or just trying to do one step that gets there. This is about more holistically and more like lifestyle wise, and it really is about lifestyle. It's not about a diet. It's not about a training regimen or whatever that is like too much, right? This is about a mental mindset of like, what does a healthy lifestyle look to you, really? Not what you're told a healthy lifestyle is. What does it feel to you as an individual, or you as a family group? Whether it's changing certain, I don't know, meal preps, or not getting takeaway, whatever it is, or even just like maybe getting certain takeaways that's from a different place. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. But getting back to basics really feels like understanding where a lot of what's popping up in my head is like where food came from. And in my mind, that kind of means, how a lot of signature dishes of countries are generally made by the poor, right? The people that had less or whatever. So they utilized every part of the plant, every part of the animal, or every part of even like a certain product. If you think about milk, how many wacky and wild things has milk created with different ingredients and stuff like that, right? Besides just plain milk, which is kind of odd to drink when it's being from a cow, right? Which is just a very strange idea. But then we've made like cheeses and all sorts of different things, really, and even just drinks that people would have mixed with whatever, I don't know, like your culture with the what is it, the microbiome stuff, like the bacteria. So it's just like there's so many things, from sweets to mixing in breads to, like, you know, just whatever. There's just so many different things. So I think this is like getting back to the basics of what do you really want out of this? What do you really want out of your mental health, out of your physical health, out of your family's health, out of your like country's health, especially if you come from a place where water is undrinkable, right, without it going through some kind of treatment, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. It is quite broad, but I'll see what comes through anyway. But it's just really touching on many things. There's so many topics and things to think about with this. While I'm listening to reading this for you, sorry, I'm also listening to Beyond the Shadows. It's at the frequency hertz 1111, and it's just some hand pan music. Okay. Interesting here, you've got astonished and you also have vulnerable. Vulnerable kind of touches in on, you know, I mean, many things, but it's like mainly it's touching on the certain ingredients that are in a product. Like if you eat or drink or whatever. I don't know if you've done like the yes/no kind of tests with your arms and stuff like that. It goes down. I mean, our mental can override those, especially if like, is coffee good for us? And we're obsessed with coffee, right? I ain't gonna go. If it's like a no, we're gonna pretty much override it. But you know, those kind of things. But the vulnerability is really touching on like, what am I actually? What am I sensitive to? Am I sensitive to this? Am I actually sensitive to this? And I just think I'm sensitive to this. So I'm kind of like cutting out many things. You know, this is really touching on that kind of mentality. And there's definitely something here with like a new way of thinking. And it's not a new way as in like this is a brand new product or an idea that's come through to you. This is something like old or traditional, or I don't know how else to say it, but just like this is really getting back to the basics. Going to step one. Why do I do this? It's almost like, why do I eat? I eat for nourishment. Okay. So why do I specifically go for these kind of foods? Is it because of this, I have a sweet tooth or something like that? What other alternatives are there? What's in those alternatives, right? What's in the foods I'm eating that's missing something? I read, there was something online or like somewhere where it was like, add a to your fizzy drink or something, add a cap full of apple cider vinegar. It's supposed to help with like sugar cravings, right? Or something like that. I don't know how true that is, but it was just interesting. So there's just a lot of ideas. We've got access to the internet, which you're literally watching me right now. And so there's so much information out there. It doesn't always mean that all that's true, but you can test and try what's for you, right? I mean, if they're saying drink this and it's like poison, then obviously don't do that. But you know what I mean? You can test other things where it's like, this doesn't sound like right, but while I've got the ingredients, I may as well just give it a try and just do a little taste on it and see how it feels, right? Why not? Obviously knowing what you're allergic to and what you're not. But this vulnerability, there's like, we also get targeted as humans in vulnerables and taking advantage of our vulnerabilities, right? Or taking advantage of like fear. We can see that with the news or with like other things that people are saying. It's like, this happens, therefore now we're going to go and take this from these people or something like that, right? That's kind of like something primitive. And what have they done? They've taken advantage of our core, like our root kind of beliefs, right? It's not something that's a whole new brand new idea. It's like, this has happened, so therefore now we can do this without any issues or any pushback, because we can always fall on, well, this happened, so we have to do this, right? Now that's kind of in a big kind of sense and doesn't really relate to health, but you know, why do you think that what you're consuming or what you're doing to your body is or isn't working? I watched another video where there was a chiropractor on, and he was working on a person who lifted weights and did all the stuff, and they were having they had like spine, like one of their columns. I don't know, you know how they say see this, then whatever. One of them had like lost a lot of the sponginess in it because of the way he was lifting and how much he was lifting, and it was just like, has now this exercise become an obsession where you're actually injuring yourself, right? So it's taking all these things into consideration. Okay. So we're really in the mental and the like why. So it's kind of like mental and emotional attraction towards certain stimulus, let's say. Okay. Like balance is really important. Overworking your body without, you know, protection of like when he was talking about the weight lifting, he was talking about wearing a belt kind of thing, like some kind of power belt, right? You see them in weightlifters and those strongest person in the world things, you know, those kind of things. There's a purpose and a reason for it. It's pretty much so they don't, I don't know, blow up or whatever happens when you like overlift something, pop a knee. Love that card, especially from this deck. It's a very feminine deck, but obviously this is a very masculine card. This is making the changes and remembering the power that you have. You don't need to be told by certain people. I remember going to a different chiropractor, and it was kind of like, if you stop going to me, your back will be at worse type thing. And I was like, no, it won't actually. I don't need to take in what was being told to me at that time. I was like, I'm done with this. I appreciate the help. It got me into a really good state with my my posture, my back, my you know, my issues that I had with my back. And so I claimed the power, and I realized, no, that's not true. Actually, it's not going to get worse because I'm not going specifically to you. I don't need to. I need to take what you've taught me, which is, you know, exactly what is really, really needed. To take the information and work with it to help ourselves, not to be reliant on someone else. It's almost like this reading. If you were like, you know, hopefully not, but like if you were reliant on my readings every week, that would be a dependency. You know, you have this full power. So this is like a reminding about claiming back your power. Even when it comes to food and speaking to your body, right? It's like, it's almost like separating yourself from yourself and taking a look at yourself and starting to be like, why do we need this? Do we actually need this? Or why are we obsessed with this? Or why do we keep jumping from diet to diet? Like, what are we doing? What is the goal? What is the purpose? How do I claim back my power? And God Viracocha, even though I don't know how to pronounce that exactly, but hopefully that's close enough. Creation, my potential is infinite. I am that spark of infinite power, right? So this is a big reading about claiming back power too, which is kind of interesting because we wouldn't think about that when we're going into health and well-being exactly. But this is about claiming back your body, right? If you're like someone who's overweight who couldn't walk to certain places or used to be able to run around with kids and can't now, this is about claiming back your power. This is self-empowerment. This is where we're starting from in this particular message. It's not so much about this diet will work or this pill will work or this surgery will work. This is about claiming back power in your own way. Interesting here, the red spring, well-being. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about, healthy lifestyle, right? You've got the red spring with well-being. It says, I am vibrant. Sorry about I've changed the setting, so it's like, I'm trying to make it so it's not so blurry, but every time I'm streaming, it seems to be raining, but it's been rainy, very rainy here in Brisbane, which is kind of rough because it's also hot. But getting back to this, the red spring, I like that she's looking at what she's drinking, right? So she's like taking a look at it, and it's almost like gratitude towards having fresh water or being able to afford fresh food or good food, right? So when you get into those positions, it's like, now it's time to demand right food for me, whether that's organic, right? Or even if you realize that just because it says it's organic doesn't mean it's good for you food, right? It's like really trying to find what is right for you. And if it's not right for you, maybe growing your own stuff. I feel like that's been popping up for a long time, but now it's like getting pushed more into the collective like messages and readings. is if this is really expensive and this is really expensive, why don't you grow your own? Like, what can you grow in your area? What can you grow in certain seasons? Do you have enough space for it? If you're in an apartment, can you grow microgreens on your windowsill or on your balcony or whatever, right? What can you do? There's these things, I can't remember what they are, but it's almost like a hydroponic, but it's like how do I explain it? It's kind of like a cylinder type thing that goes up, right? And so it's like a sun umbrella pole, but it's like wider, obviously, so things can fit in. And so it's just straight up, which is kind of good for like space, right? Especially if you don't have a lot of space outside. And you can grow lettuce and other vegetables inside it. It has these like gaps in between, kind of like I don't know, some kind of plant, I guess. And so you just kind of like, I don't know, do the seeds or whatever, but maybe you want to look those kind of things up. I saw one and I was like, that's a wild thing. I've never even seen them before. But yeah, I mean, look, you can work with what you've got, especially if you're somewhere where you get a lot of sun at the moment or even a lot of rain. There's so many opportunities to grow certain things. At the moment, because we're having so much rain, grass is growing wild and we can't cut it because it's too wet. So yeah. Anyway. Love these two together. This is creating your own. This could be writing down things. The Apprentice and the paintbrush. This paintbrush is a magical paintbrush, right? Making magic artistic and studious. Looking up, like reclaiming your health and well-being back. Not giving your power away to this, that, or the other. Advice is important and guidance is important and information is always helpful. And it's out there, so you're allowed to look up stuff. And if people are like, this always works, this always works, this always works, and you try this, that may not always work for you. Everyone's body is different, everyone's lifestyle is different. This is about claiming back power and putting your own kind of flair into it, and not having like days where it's like, oh, this is a cheat day. No, you're not cheating on anything. Like, it's fine to have those things. You're allowed to have, a variety in life. We don't come here to have like a boring existence. This is to, even if we came here for like a holiday, right? As like, let's just say this, we had a lifetime where it was a holiday. I don't think really any lifetime on Earth is holiday-ish, but who knows, whatever. We had a holiday, we still would want to try many different things. Like, we don't want to just go, okay, I can just do anything and I don't have to worry. No, we have this, we try these kind of things, we see what works for us. What am I enjoying when I'm working out, or what am I enjoying when I cook for my family, or when I cook for myself? Does this taste good? Does this taste just not good because I'm so used to this chemical kind of mixture stuff? Like, what is actually in it? Yeah, anyway. What's in the food I'm eating? What kind of pesticides are being used? What kind of hormones are being pumped into the animal? Let's say, what is really happening here? And how can I claim some of that back? How can I get chickens in to get my own eggs? Because eggs can be kind of wild and expensive sometimes for, I don't know, whatever reason, sickness, that kind of thing. Okay. I do like this Garuda and the Sri Yantra with the transportation, because they're kind of like, I don't know, for some reason, Garudas almost remind me of UFOs. I don't know why, just in my head I picture a UFO, which I don't think it's depicted like that anywhere, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But anyway, you've also got wealth and fulfillment, right? What is fulfilling? What am I holding my hand at the cup of a Coke machine, right? Is that what's fulfilling me? Is this what I'm relying on? Am I addicted to this, that, or the other, this caffeine? You don't have to give up anything. I'm not saying that, but just like, do I need caffeine to live? Like, why would I need that? Was really, when you look at it, no one needs caffeine to live. People would be absolutely fine without coffee. They'd probably find something else, right? To, I don't know, get into the mood for whatever, whether it's other things. But, whatever it is, this is really about taking accountability for what you put into your body, what you want out of your body, what you can do with your body, And it's not just age, right? I've seen people in their like 60s, 70s plus that are super fit and all that. I don't really want to be that when I'm older. I would be nice, but I don't put that effort into it, right? But you know, what is going to work for you or for me or for like your family, that kind of thing. That's really where it is, because that's what it's all about. It's actually finding a healthy lifestyle or a healthy plan of living that's actually fulfilling, not that's just stock standard kind of like this will work, you have to write it down, you have to just be disciplined. You are going to have to be disciplined, but if it's so strict and you're someone who's like more free, it's not going to be sustainable, right? So it's just going to be a temporary thing, like a diet, like a fad. Okay. This is going better than I thought it was going to go, to be honest. I wasn't sure about these kind of readings, but this is making a huge amount of sense, and I think it is logic. Again, remember the overarching theme of this whole session is going back to the basics is really important. Okay, what have we got here? I am going to read all these upright. You've got the initiative activations, and I really love that it's right next to this card. Like, it's just reiterating. It's like, write down, if you want to write it down, if you're a person who loves lists, make a list, right? That kind of thing. This is heartful communication. It's highlighting art, which is just funny because it's right here. And again, talking about communication, we've got clear communication. This is being realistic, making realistic plans. The initiative activations is reclaiming power and recognizing that you probably have had ideas of what you want to do, right? What you want changed within yourself and why you want it changed. Is it for the reason of, I don't know, getting back into, you know, some kind of level of fitness? We all know that jogging, running, by having physical activity in whatever way, sports, does lift our mood as well, our mental health as well. It's hard when we have really, really low days and we can barely get out of bed, right? Those kind of things, those happen as well. It's not to be hard on ourselves that we should be out here, we should be doing this. This is really about just recognizing when this happens, and I know this may happen at some stage. I don't plan for it. I don't want it to happen, but if it does, I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to let myself rest, and I'm going to let myself breathe. And instead of that, I'm going to do a meditation, you know, whatever is right for you at that moment. And if you can't do that, I'm going to watch TV and not feel bad about it. I'm going to have like pizza and not judge myself or criticize myself about it. I've done really good work to get to here. I've gone through what I've gone through. I'm gonna be okay with this. This is only going to be temporary, even if I don't feel 100% or, you know, whatever that day. So this is kindness to self. How you talk to yourself is going to be really important to make the changes that you want to see within your life. Oh, I love this. You got my potential is infinite, and you have the infinite life force. This is the sun. This is reminding you of your God-given power, I guess you could say that, right? Regardless of what you believe, or remembering that you're so much more than just this one incarnation, this body, this mind, this like even experience in this moment, right? What we're experiencing today, we probably couldn't have guessed where we would be 10 years ago. I definitely wouldn't have guessed I'd be doing readings, for one thing, as a very kind of like not interested in anything out there. I say that, but I was definitely very interested in the paranormal. I just didn't believe it. I was just like, this is cool stuff. But anywho, the sun card. This is talking about the dawn of a new day. Seeing every morning as an opportunity for recovery, for health, for life, like living, right? This is about, really it's about getting back into claiming your power, getting back into real living. And it's doing it your way. There's no like, this is how you do it. Like whether if it's writing lists, it's writing lists. If it's keeping to a schedule, it's keeping to a schedule. If it's like deciding you're going to cut this out by removing it from your house, you're going to do that. You know, that kind of thing. It's really not about a one-stop shop that does that's just like, this is the right way of doing things. This is like giving you free reign. That's what this world is. It's literally like free reign. If you've played any games, you know, sometimes there's games where you can be go on a path of being more of a warrior or a mage, or, you know, a summoner, or like a sneak person, a thief, or whatever, you know, whatever. Have a way with words, all that kind of stuff. We have all that and then more, right? We have so much more that we can do in this world. So if it's coming back to something that's within you, you have free reign over it, and you can make decisions that are right for you based off like what you've got. And then, you know, roll on effect. It's kind of like, okay, well, I'm sick of having these kind of vegetables as on offer. What is native to my area? What is native to my country? What is like the weather change now that something else is new that can come in, because these vegetables that used to grow here don't, and the weather's shifting and changing so much that maybe something else is out there. You know, really redo your research. You can do this all online. There's so much information out there now. Okay, I think I've said enough of that. You've got Heartfire, 3 of activations. This could be very healing too. It's kind of interesting. When you reclaim your power, it could open up doors to past pains, whether you've felt like people have ridiculed you or judged you, criticized you, you've judged yourself, looked in the mirror and cried. You know, whatever this is, this Heartfire is utilizing that pain and kind of channeling it into self-empowerment. It's like, I'm not going to go down those dark paths anymore. I'm not going to criticize or let myself be judged. Even if people are constantly judging you, right? It's up to you whether you take that on as truth. And so you don't have to do that. So this is really about self-empowerment. Getting back to the true essence of who you are. You're not just like these labels of like a parent or this or that or the other. You are all those things, but that's the point. You're not just this way you're here, you're this way you're there. You're all of this and so much more as well. Okay. Oh, I don't really get this card often. So last card coming out here is the Origins of Light with Strength. Every step, like this is what's coming through when I'm doing this reading. I feel like most of this is channeled, but anyway. When this is coming through, the Strength card is like every step towards empowerment, self-reliance, resilience, overcoming old pains, working through trauma, working through like addiction, even if you like get to a point of like, but I've tried to quit and this has happened, relapsed or whatever. You know, whatever is going on, it's okay. You're making the effort. You're not just sitting back and letting life deal things for you, right? You're actually taking command. So look after yourself and be kind to yourself as well. It's going to be really strong here of like, if I have a slip up or I can't do as much as I could at the gym this day and I had the week before, maybe it's a sign of your body going, this is a good time to rest. Tomorrow will be another day, and if you want to pick it up then, you can. If you can't, you can't, right? Just look after yourself. Be kind to yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, say nice things. It's a really interesting one here, right? It's kind of like as above, so below type energy, the origins of light. I love that because I said getting back to basics. Origins are like the where things have come from. Like, you know, we get bogged down even spirituality with like this deity, this god, this goddess, this angel, this whatever, you know, this thing, this is like the right path, this is the wrong thing, this crystal is better than this one, and blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, well, where does everything come from, right? It comes from the primordial source, let's just say, if you want to take it as that. So all is coming from one thing. Don't get too bogged down with like the specifics, because then you'll miss the whole point, is kind of how it's coming through. So remember, you're in command of this. Take back your power. Don't focus on even where people have taken your power away, or you've taken your own power away by judging, criticizing yourself, right? This is like a time of like, oh, I need to wake up kind of thing. I need to wake up and go. I need to snap out of this illusion of I have to rely on this this company, this country, this government to do what's right for me. No, you can rely on yourself to do what's right for you. All right. Well, that is the reading for this message. Hopefully that really does help you. And, you know, take whatever resonates, leave what doesn't, as always. But this is the overarching theme, even in this reading, is getting back to basics, getting back to who you truly are as a soul, and as an empowerment for what you're going to do with this energy. What are you going to do with your future? What do you want to see yourself as, or how do you want to feel about yourself? That's more important than what you want to see, right? But maybe not. Maybe, you know, you're individual. You can shoot for goals that you feel is important to you. All right, take care, and I'll see you next time. Hello, welcome to the reading. So this is the second reading from this overarching kind of like theme. And while I was doing pile 1, I actually realized what this theme is actually about. For, you know, there's like this pile's this pile's this, but there's like an overarching theme for this, and it's getting back to basics, which is really interesting because this one is about where we're headed as a collective. In regards to protection, in regards to home, right? Here it says home protection, but it's not just home protection. It's really about like how we see ourselves as communities, as family groups, that kind of thing, where we're headed. And if you feel like whatever comes out in the reading, if that's not where you want to head to, then you can do what you can do, and within your own family unit, right? To champion particular topics and themes that you want to experience in your family group, right? Or maybe you want to speak to the wider group, right? You have, like, I think in America you guys have those HOAs, are they called? Those kind of things. So maybe there's something there. I don't know. I'm going to really have them here, which I'm kind of glad, because it doesn't seem like something that I would want. I don't know. But anyway. Those kind of things, I guess, in like body corporates and that kind of stuff, you have, like, you know, starting to get involved in those topics if there are certain topics, because I know that sometimes one person can say something or do something that no one else agrees with, but no one goes to the meetings and declines it or just says no to it, and then they make up all these rules just to please this one person who everyone starts to get annoyed with, but really you need to be annoyed with yourself. You didn't participate, right? That kind of thing. So, you know, this is just getting into what is going to be right for you, basically. But we're talking to more of the collective, so we'll see what comes through. Let's just get some cards. All right, so I always ask for clear and concise messages for the highest good, highest truth, because whatever we take action in now or do now will shift where we end up, or how we end up getting where we end up. So that's why if we're on a path where the collective or things just don't work, then how do I change my habits, my focus, to really pull it into align with what I believe is right? You know, that kind of thing. Or what's right for the majority, or what's right for everyone. All right, so let's take a look. Yeah, I'm going to flip it this way. You've got confident? Yeah, confident, which isn't, sorry, not confident, confident. Oh my God. Okay, I was reading it through through this instead of looking at the card. You've got confident and uncertain. Funny, I was uncertain of this, what I was reading. But also, nice colors mixing up here, right? The yellows, this is touching on kind of the solar plexus. And to me, when I'm talking about in this reading, it kind of feels like the solar plexus is touching into a message of your identity. Like, who are you? Who are you as an individual and as a group? Because this is stripping away. Remember, the theme is getting back to basics. We're stripping away the race, the like, I'm this gender or that gender or whatever, right? It's not about these don't matter. It's just more like, once we take away all these labels of who we think we are or should be, or like are born into, who are we, what are we doing, and how are we impacting our community, our life, our family, ourselves? So it's touching in on that. And this is a good thing to be stepping into as a collective, I feel, because it feels like claiming power back instead of not knowing what I can do, say, or feel. You can do and say whatever you want. Just know there's obviously consequences for that as well. You know, you can go to, I remember that American guy, I think it was, in North Korea who went over there and started ripping down posters, right, of the government or whatever. So that wasn't very good because he ended up going to prison or something like that. I think they ended up getting him back to where he was from. But it was just like, you know, you can do what you want, but there's consequences as well. So what am I doing to myself or in my family group that are creating these kind of consequences as well? I'm just going to change my music because it stopped. This one is called, I'll just let you know what I'm listening to. It's hand pan music, and this one's called Contemplation. The hertz or the frequency on here is 369. It's reminding me of a really weird song that it was playing at the gym once. It just goes, this was like years ago because I don't go to the gym, but it's like 369 something in wine. It's like a really weird song. It's like we all go to heaven in a little rowboat. It's like a really weird song, but anyway, that's just reminding me of it. Okay, let's have a look. Got the orphan, and you've got the starseed. Damn. This is touching deep. This could be activating a huge amount of star seeds in a way, especially ones that feel disenfranchised. I know we're talking about where the collective is going, but we have to know where we're from, right? I talked about going back to basics, and this could be going back to our origin. We're from the stars. Certain people are star seeds, right? Or connect with that, and some people might think that's hui, and that's fine. If they don't believe it, then it's probably not for them to look into. But the orphan is like a comprehension and understanding of why I've never felt connected to this country, connected to this planet, connected to this place. And sometimes we say that, but then we identify very much with our country, with our, like, with nationalists, right? Or something like that. So it's like getting real with ourselves is kind of coming through as well, and being honest with ourselves. But yeah, the orphan is a tough one, especially if you felt like you haven't really been represented, or even if certain laws come in that give you less ownership of yourself, right? Or the threat of that will come through where you can't get access to what you need in life because of what the collective's done. That doesn't mean you step out of the collective and disengage. This is probably more of a sign to speak up and be heard if that's what you feel like doing. So I think as a collective, we're kind of testing the waters in the way of like, let's kind of like try this crazy thing. And if that crazy thing upsets people, not great, but those upset people might actually start to feel empowered because they're like claiming back their power, and then the big shifts happen, right? So it's kind of like, instead of going incrementally like this way up, we're like going up, and then we go bam down, like, because something happens and that starts to get people riled up and then starts claiming back power. So we kind of have to go through this like up and down almost type thing. I don't know how I feel too much about that personally, but I'll stick to the reading. Like, I don't love that idea, right? I would rather us learn from past mistakes rather than repeat past mistakes, because we've forgotten how that affected the world and how it made us feel. So I feel like some astrologers were talking about, you know, this time last time this kind of thing happened, or this planet was in this placement, there was the French Revolution. I think that popped up, or the Americans, you know, claiming their own country, right, from the British, the French, whoever else was freaking taking part in this and that, and the United States, or like the Canada and the United States, even Mexico, you know, those kind of areas. It's about claiming back power. So it's you know, it's an interesting time. Do we repeat those kind of like things which still lead to the unification? Well, as in Italy a few weeks ago, they were talking about Garibaldi, who was like, I don't know, he just kind of like bought an army and kind of like was like, okay, everyone, now we're all unifying as one country, like this kind of thing. It wasn't exactly like that, right? But it was just like he played a huge part, and it almost felt like he had no big army or anything. It was just like, this is going to get done. If you don't agree with it, you get killed, which isn't great. But like, you know, now you can see that there's a unified country of Italy, which it wasn't before the unification. You've got restraint. It says play within the rules. Very interesting here. I would say don't get too caught up in drama with this one. I know it doesn't really speak to that exactly with the words that are coming through, but restraint and playing within the rules is recognizing what the rules are and what they mean and who they're protecting and how they're helping people. I can't remember where it was, but it was like some country, there was like an idea of getting tax cuts, right? And so how much would the 1% kind of get? And it said that it was like their tax cuts would create a revenue savings of per year of $41,000, right? Which is a huge amount of money. And then what about the poorest 20%? What would they get from this tax cut? They would get about $112 extra a year. So you can see the discrepancy and just like the issues here, right? And I guess the good thing about these people speaking up to this and what does this mean and how does it look, that was an average of the top 1% and average of the lowest 20% in that country. But it just shows like the discrepancy is just huge. And who's working for who and who's like helping who, right? That's the kind of thing. I feel like the reason why we're starting to see a lot of this or recognize a lot of this is the collective are waking up. We're not like little robots going into work and doing this and then going here and then worrying about whatever the news tells us to and then focusing on ourselves. This is like, I feel like we're kind of like almost getting into a point of fighting each other, not in a war sense, hopefully, but like getting in a point of like fighting each other, to recognize why we're fighting each other, to recognize, oh, these countries fought for the last 2,000 years and they probably don't even know why they're fighting. So do we want to follow those kind of things and keep having rifts and arguments with ourselves instead of recognizing that the issue is over here? It's not actually here. It's kind of like when people blame poor people or immigrants for taking jobs or whatever and they're losing money or whatever it is. Like, this is an issue from the higher up. That's where they've kind of like done it. It's not really down here, right? I don't want to get too political, but it's just like we're talking about community and country and kind of like where we're headed. And so it does feel like if we stick on this kind of path, we get into like that dip and then it will rise because we learn from our mistakes rather than learning from past people's mistakes. Like we can do that with ourselves too. We look back at our family or like going on dates, right? And we used to date someone who looked really pretty, but then while we're out, they were really rude to service staff, that kind of thing, but we just ignored it. And then as you get older, you go on another date, like do you commit to that same kind of mentality of like pretty though, or like attractive in some way? So it's really, really about, do we keep repeating the cycle? This is a big cycle, right? Obviously, because a lot of people, no one that was alive back in when countries were being unified back then are around now, but we know the history. Do we want to keep going through those kind of like fights, or do we want to start making shifts in a peaceful sense? And so I hope as a collective we go that way, but I can only like focus on this message and also my own life, right? And people have to make up their own decision on where they want to go. Do you live in scarcity or do you live in communion? So it's going to be an interesting one. Let's see where we go. yeah, like I said with the awakening, this is about awareness. You've got the mother and the vampire ashes. She's focusing on her own needs. She's kind of like ignoring the clear sign because she's stuck with something or kept something and from the past that is like almost like a reminder, and she's forgotten what that reminder was, whether it was like something that took away her self-empowerment. You could assume many things with this image, but you can see the kids are like, yo mom, there's like some weird ass like ghosty vampire there. And vampires, like, they're just a representation in this imagery anyway of what takes our energy away without us knowing. So it's kind of like if someone came over and ran a lead into your house and was taking your power and you were wondering why the power bill's so high, right? That's like a vampire. They're literally an energy vampire. They're taking away the power energy, but you know what I mean, that kind of thing. So some people will be waking up. I feel like some people will go along with the program and some will not, and that's okay. You have to go with what feels right to you. No one's going to get forced into what happens next, but as a community or as a collective, when it comes to our own home and stuff like that, we're starting to re-look at it. Instead of just me, or just like even my unit, we're starting to be like, what is actually happening out there and what are we being distracted by? All right. Interesting with the mother and father too. These are quite powerful images. The traditional, or like I say traditional, these cards are still being made, and also you can get these on Kickstarter. I'll leave a link in the description below. But the father and the mother, it's just interesting because the father was originally supposed to be devoted father. I couldn't fit it all on here, and so he was very devoted to finding a cure for his child's illness, right? And then he comes to a realization that his child is gone and can't be resuscitated. It feels like he went through this whole thing, not in vain though. He did it for his like love, but he ended up having to come to the realization that all this kind of like effort and stuff doesn't always work out to mean that you get your way or get what you want, but you really did put in the effort to care. And it feels like, you know, if we look at it from like a real sense of like a child leaving a family, obviously there's going to be a huge amount of grief, but you can see that love and appreciation between the two souls. And same here, like there's a whole lot of love and appreciation for the children here. It's just sometimes we don't always look at the things that we know we need to go back to. So even though he went on a big journey, he comes back to the realization. So it's like, again, coming back to basics, coming back to reality. I feel like a lot of people are going through when it comes, not just comes to even this message of like home and protection or like community. It's like coming back to basics in so many sense. Like where do I feel like I connect with people? And especially if you're a starseed, right? You're usually here to do a specific job, let's say, or a specific task. And some people have like kind of crazy wild rides, right? You'll see people that connect with ETs or like gods, goddesses, and channel stuff through all the time, and they'll get into like this kind of, their voice will change and that kind of stuff. They'll do that, or they'll have some other kind of wacky life where they'll create a book because they've gone through the challenges, and so now they recognize how empowering it can be to overcome it. Here's this book that I wrote dictating my, or like, what is it? Is it dictating? I don't know. Telling my story of what happened, and you know, this is how I overcame it. Does it mean it's going to help for you? Maybe, maybe not. But at least you can see my story, my reality, and what I did to get here. You know, those are kind of like inspiring stories sometimes. Hopefully this reading isn't too all over the place. It really does feel like it's like the future. I will say this: the future doesn't feel all too set exactly right now. I do feel like from the reading that it's like we're getting to a point of potential repeating a cycle of some sort, and I have no idea what kind of cycle that is. But yeah, if more people are awake and aware of where their strings are being pulled, or that they even had strings, they can start cutting them and moving their own body around, right? No, become Pinocchio rather than just a puppet. And then working towards becoming a real boy, let's say. Okay. Because there's something off with this restraint. It's like, am I truly restrained, or have I felt like I'm restrained because that's what I'm told I am? There was a study with some fleas, and so whenever they jumped, they would hit their heads, like, I guess, hit their bodies on this lid. And so they kept doing it, and they had generations because they breed and change so quickly. This was like some scientific test because, you know, scientists are wacky sometimes. But then once they took the lid off, and they stopped jumping that high, and they could escape now, but they wouldn't. And their offspring, even though they've never had the restriction, they would also not jump higher than, you know, a certain length because they, I don't know if it's like I don't know, flea collective thing, but that was their limit, right? So we need to be starting to stop thinking about like everything is as a limit. It's almost like everything is actually infinite, and we have full power of what we can do and what we can change. If it's not going to be with other people who have their own free will, what can I do in my mind, my community, my self, that I can remind myself that I'm an infinite being, basically. Or I've come from some crazy starseed place that has pureness, right? Instead of bitching and complaining about it, that I don't have it here and I wish I was back. It's like, what can I do to reclaim that power? What can I do to reclaim it as a human? Because you are a human in this body. Okay. That was angrier than it needed to sound, but there we go. You've got the new Earth transition. What do you want to see in this new Earth as a collective, right? What do we want to see? What do we want to, you know, people have heard about the new Earth a lot of the time. We're talking about the moon card too, so it's like starts from within, shining a light on your own goals instead of complaining about the collective not doing what you think is right. What do? Do you follow your own kind of like truth as well, or are you buying into that it's not working, so you're giving up? You know, it's really kind of like a reality check as an individual, but also as a collective. Do we want to keep agreeing that these companies keep pumping pollution into rivers and streams, like when fresh water is so, you know, it's not infinite in a sense, right? Especially when we have more and more people, there's less and less, not less and less water, but there's less and less to go around, so to speak. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see. So you've got the moon card coming through. You've also got the desert, the Four of Earth Guardians. How are we restricting ourselves? Like I said with the fleas, and then their generations after their offspring have set those limitations as well, because they've been taught that that's limitation, or just naturally they felt that that's the limitation. You might even be like very different to your family, right, as an individual, and that's fine. Let that truth fly. Tell your story, speak your truth, all that kind of stuff. But the desert is like, do we just keep wandering in the desert? Do we just keep accepting the desert as what it is, or do we transform the desert into something like workable, right? Kind of like the Nile. Bit different, but still how the floodplains get flooded and all that nutrients gets turned into soil where you can plant certain crops. Got the Priestess of Portals too with vines. There's something here with like community living, how we kind of live now and how we communicate with people. How do we want to connect with people? It doesn't have to mean we go out and do it face to face, but like even like community gardens, can we just like create something where we can trust people to, or like put our faith in everyone to do something? And even when I've seen someone come around like just some shitty person and trash a whole lot of stuff, usually that rallies a lot of people around, right? It's kind of like over here there was a person whose wheelchair, she was in a wheelchair and a wheelchair got stolen, and it was like very customized to her. And then all these people rallied around and raised some money. It doesn't mean it's like a great way to get there, but you can see that when push comes to shove, people really do help out each other. And then they go back to like what was before, and they go back to like, you know, when there's like a tsunami or like fires or whatever, people rally around and then they just go back to where they were before. But that light of being able to support and help other people was there at one point. So how do we do that and keep that going as a community? How do we keep helping each other, right? That's kind of where this is going. And it's nice coming through with the Priestess of Portals because she is very much similar to the Queen of Cups in traditional tarot. And so she's really like finding a new world by not actually discovering some new technology that she can patent and then become rich off, right? It's not about that. It's like, what can I create that I can just share with the collective? Even not patenting something and just having free, it's kind of like creating a website where it's just like free information, right? All that kind of stuff, kind of like the internet. I guess most of the stuff is free information out there. But even if you discovered like a particular pattern where you could make billions off, you know, imagine if people stop thinking about what's going to profit me and just, I'm going to release this so that there's no patent and everyone can have free access to this healthcare or this particular, you know, drug or whatever it is that saves people's lives, and it doesn't cost them what could cost like, you know, $1,000 per pill is now, since everyone can just create it, it's like 20 cents, right? Or less than. Because really a lot of things don't have to be as expensive as they are. They're just that because people have bought the rights or whatever. And it's kind of silly when it's talking about people's health or people like being alive or not alive. Kind of wild to me. So I guess with some stuff we just accept, right? We kind of just accept that as like, well, that's just how it is. But what can we do to like go beyond that, move beyond and do something better for everyone? Okay, this one. What needs to change? The catalyst coming through. Sorry about her boobs, if you don't like seeing naked people. But anywho, I'm not monetized, so it doesn't matter too much. They can't really demonetize me. The catalyst, this is shadow clearing. And interesting because before the cards, the reading that I was doing in pile, I guess the first reading, what was it? The music that I was listening to was the same person's, more hand panned, but it was shadow clearing. And that's exactly what this is, like literally shadow clearing. It was something like that, something similar. If you rewatch it or watch the beginning, I think I mentioned it, and it was something about shadow. Something about the shadow, right? Something revealing about the shadow. So shadow clearing is like, how do I clear the shadow? I can't clear the shadow by not knowing what shadows I'm clearing. I clear the shadow or deal with like shadow work by lifting that shadow into the light so it's exposed. And if it's painful, then I, you know, may feel that pain again or like feel some remnant of it. But I can't highlight things without highlighting them, right? It's kind of like, how do I highlight this but no one can see it, right? How do I have a secret service type thing where this information's out there but it's also hidden? It's like, that doesn't work. It has to be done in the light, and I guess that's where we're going as a collective. We're going to more truth. It looks like as communities and stuff, things are going to come through that's going to expose things that are not actually for our highest good, right? Don't actually heal us or help us. Could be anything. Could be like companies that are actually polluting waterways, because if they pollute waterways here, they can sell their bottled water there. You know, whatever it is, I don't know specifically, but that's the kind of feeling of it. That's the kind of like information message that's coming through. Even when I was in Europe, I was drinking the water over there out of the tap, and like I drink it in New Zealand and Australia. It took me a while to get used to Australian water, but from New Zealand, but anyway. then you go to, then I've also been in Asia where you can't drink the water because it's polluted. There's too much like pesticides or industrial waste or whatever is going on. I have no idea, but you cannot drink the water. And I never drank the water, didn't brush my teeth with it, and still would get sick from it somehow because it would just be like, I don't know, it just wasn't very good. But hey, I've got the Western metabolism body type thing, so it's probably not really suited to it. But anywho, getting back to why I was even talking about all that, it's just like, why are all these things happening, right? If a baby flea came out and was like, why do we only jump to here? If I jump further, I can get out of here and there's a whole world to explore. It's kind of like that, and I feel like that's helping people awaken. Unfortunately, people awaken from trauma, right? You'll see it in near-death experiences, which to me is trauma. I mean, I can't think of anything more traumatic than almost dying, even if it leads to like love and light and opening and awakening and blah blah blah. Like, it still feels like it's some kind of traumatic event. So I really hope from this reading that we do align ourselves with, like, we're all one, we're all a community. What can we do to help each other? What can I do to like ensure that even my family feel like they are able to speak to me about the things that are important to them, that kind of stuff, without judgment or criticism of them or of myself, or like fearing anything. How can I just be purely organically me and let other people be purely and organically themselves, right? Even if it's very different from what I believe. Maybe they need to go through it. Maybe you can help them, maybe not, right? You can't help people that don't want to be helped. You can't lead a horse. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So, recognizing those aspects of what's happening within my reality, what's happening within the collective reality, regardless of what's happening in the collective, where do I feel like is the right path for humanity, let's say, and how do I champion that lifestyle or that kind of like care for the community and care for others. So there might be pie in the sky, but what I do really love about this reading is the mother and father are here, which feels like union in a way, even though they kind of are going through their own separate kind of things. They may not even be related or family or anything. They're just having their own existence, right? The one who travels to try to heal, the one who is very dedicated to her children, but is ignoring some of the signs that needs to be looked at, right? So you can't just turn a blind eye to this stuff that's happening in the world. And I'm not talking about just what's on the news. That's probably like 0.0002% or 0.01 or whatever. There's so much more out there. Are we just being distracted by this so we don't look at what's happening in our own backyard, or what's happening in our own country, right? Or what's happening in our own family? Be very aware and open and not judgmental or critical. Just be very aware. Okay, that was an interesting reading. I don't know how it related to the main topic, but hopefully that helps you. Anyway, I was very curious. I feel like it really isn't a clear path of where we're going right now. We're still in the makings of how that's going to look. Do we get there by almost like, bam, falling and then going up? Or do we kind of like continually rise? I have no idea. That's going to be up to everyone. I'm going to do my part to hopefully, go in a direction that's more heartfelt, that's more peaceful, that's more calm, that's more like fair, that's more balanced, those kind of paths. But, you got to do what you got to do. So, live your life and be free. Thank you for letting me read for you today. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next reading.